Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Burn the Playbook, where I challenge conventional thinking, break free from the lies, limitations, and anything holding you back. I'm Sean Simpson, and this podcast is all about rethinking the rules, whether it's in health, life, family, faith, or finances. Again, thanks for tuning in. It is such a beautiful day today. I am an outside person. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I enjoy being outside. If I could be somewhere in the wilderness, in the forest, set up with trees around, birds and everything, I'd do it. Who knows? I might get a chance to do that one time or another. Wanted to share something with you real briefly that I'm experimenting with. And you may have seen it, you may have come across it, and it's taping your mouth while you sleep. Yes, it sounds interesting, whatever the case may be, but I've looked into it for a little bit and have been wanting to try it. Finally got a product to tape my mouth while I sleep. And it's something you can breathe through it. It doesn't restrict you. It's not like duct tape, even though I believe I've seen somebody work out with literally duct tape on their mouth just to force them to breathe out in and out of their nose. There's a lot of health benefits from breathing in and out of your nose because the nose hairs are supposed to be like your filters to breathe in, and it affects the body differently. You get more oxygen that way. One thing that I can say for myself from what I've experienced just doing it for 2 nights. The first night I slept really well. I woke up very refreshed. Now, granted, I forgot I had the tape on my mouth, but it was easy to pull off. And I have a mustache and some hair, so a couple of those got caught in it, but nothing major. And I woke up refreshed. Last night, I put it on again last night as well. And I woke up this morning. As soon as my eyes opened up, I immediately got up. Sometimes I would normally kind of mull around for a little bit, or if I get up, I'm dragging a little bit. But from last night until this morning, I just popped up and got my day started, feeling very refreshed. So I'm going to keep doing it for a while, and I'll give you updates on what it's doing to me, how I feel. And I suggest anytime you try or do anything, always understand that you want to also incorporate good eating with whatever you're doing, consistent exercise, whether it be 3 days a week, 5 days a week, or however often you exercise. All of that plays a role if you're just going to try one item. Hey, let me try this supplement. Well, if you're not doing other things with that supplement, you're going to be on it for a little bit. You'll see some results. And then after that, you'll be like, oh, it doesn't work for me. Well, it's not working because you're not doing the other things along with it. Just keep that in mind. Anytime you try something, you also want to have other things working at the same time. So let's get into the meat of this particular podcast. And of course, the name of my podcast is Burn the Playbook. And so a lot of things are going to be controversial. I just want to get you to think, open your mind, see things from a different perspective than what you're used to, because that's how I learn, listening to other people's perspective, hearing their point of view, and just taking it in. The topic I want to talk about or speak on is the topic of racism and economics, or what I believe the major issue is economics, or the lack of knowledge on that topic or subject. We talk about Black History Month, the shortest month out of the year. We talk about the same individuals, Martin Luther King, Du Bois, Washington Carver. At least that's how it was when we were growing up. Harriet Tubman, I'm about to say Rosetta Stone, Rosa Parks, and the usual suspects. In reality, there's a ton of other people, and even some of those same people I've mentioned have gone on to do other and great things that are barely mentioned. But racism is a big thing that we learned about growing up. Remember a time of watching when the movie Roots came out. Now, I'm from Michigan, so I've always been in a mixed environment school wise. It's usually been about 50-50, kids and white kids. And I had friends on white friends, black friends, and I remember after watching that, they even showed it at school. I was in elementary school. They even showed it at school. And me and one of my best friends growing up in elementary school, I just kind of looked at him sideways, and I just started swinging on him, just started fighting from watching that. And, it just goes on from there that's seemingly the biggest thing taught, racism. Granted, of course, as a child of God, I know it's wrong. Understand that people have had different experiences in their lives with either somebody of a different race, whether it's a white person whether it's a black person that had a bad run-in with white people, and vice versa, or a person had a bad run-in with black folk. When it comes to racism and economics, I believe the biggest issue is the lack and knowledge of economics over racism. I am of the mindset of this. I don't care that you don't like me because of my skin color. You don't put food on my table. You don't pay any bills in my house. You don't matter to me if that's how you feel. Because I don't know what you've experienced in your life or what goes on. I still have to get up every morning and do what I need to do to provide for my family, to be ready or available for any opportunity. I can't sit up and worry if you don't like me because of my skin color. I can't. But what I do have the control over is me getting out, being responsible financially, learning as much as I can as far as with investment, taking risks on investment opportunities. Now, granted, if I walk into a bank and, well, they're not going to give me a loan, okay, there's other ways to get money to the deal or a project. There's private money, there's grants, whatever the case may be. There's opportunities out there for me. And instead of me being so focused on this bank didn't loan me money because they're racist, let me go out and find a private investor. If I got to go through 5, 10, 15, 20 private investors before someone says, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna help you out. And granted, I can't just say, hey, dude, I got this idea. I want to start this, blah, blah, blah. You come with a plan. Usually anything in real estate, you can use the property as collateral, especially if you structure the deal properly. So instead of us always focused on this person is racist, this person's racist, you know what? Okay, fine. Let them be. Now, I understand that they talk about the inequities in this or in the inequities in that. Okay, but are you living your life for someone to accept you? My dad was born in 1921 in Florence, Alabama. Now, mind you, I was born and raised in Michigan, but my dad was born in 1921, Florence, Alabama. My dad fought in World War 1921, World War II. And my father eventually moved to Michigan. Me growing up as a young man, not once did my dad talk about white man this, white man that, whatever. And I know my dad saw some stuff. He just never talked about it. I know he saw some stuff. I know he experienced some things, but he just never talked about it. One thing he did tell me, he was like, son, there's going to be black people that treat you good. There's going to be black people that treat you bad. There's going to be white people that treat you good. There's going to be white people that treat you bad. You just determine who's in your circle, because you can only go off experience. And I was growing up, I watched my dad interact with people in the community, judges, attorneys, police officers, fire chiefs, all of these people, city officials, all of these people always addressed my dad as either Dr. Simpson, He didn't have a doctorate, anything. They just called him that, Dr. Simpson or Mr. Simpson. And he was respected because he said, I'm going to treat everybody with respect. Now, if you treat me wrong or sideways, then that's on you. And I'll act accordingly. So that's what I grew up. And I understand there are people that have had bad run-ins or what have you, or they were taught this, so on and so forth. I'm just telling you my experience, and I'm glad and I'm thankful that my dad, shared that with me. If you're a white person, you don't like me, and you tell me, at least you tell me, now I know, versus being somewhere else and you're thinking that they're on your side and they're maneuvering behind your back or slinging knives at you. I go back to that to say, if we're teaching our children economics, if we're teaching them how to invest, how to save in, put money in money markets, put money in Roth IRA accounts and build from that, and putting money away, investing in the stock market. Now what we're creating is that we're creating a new wave. Some people may say, well, Sean, I don't know about how to do all of that. That's fine. You don't have to be a master at it. You could just share with your children a little bit and let them take it the rest of the way, not let them take it or learn with them. It's not rocket science. If you're making X amount of money a month, then spend this amount of money after all of your bills are paid. And you keep doing that, and you'll see that your money will always be above what you spend. Of course, there's your, like I say, your monthly expenses. And then anything you want to do for entertainment, whatever. But as long as I make this, I'll spend this. You'll always have a gap in the positive. Anybody can do that. If you have a cell phone bill, you're paying on average, and you're probably paying $60, $70, $80 a month for a cell phone bill each and every month. That has never been turned off. And you've probably had that number for 5 or 6 years. Can you imagine taking that same amount and putting it, and I'm just talking really, really elementary, putting it in a money market account that yields about 4 or 5% a month, putting it into a stock portfolio, putting that into a life insurance policy, whereas not saying that it can be utilized for your beneficiary should something happen to you, but you can actually borrow against that life insurance policy in the event of there's an emergency, whether should you have a terminal illness diagnosed by a doctor, do you know you can access 90% of that money off the rip in one simple payment? I'm going to say this regarding it being an economic issue versus racism, where some cultures, when their child is born, they automatically open up a life insurance policy on that child, not should the fact that they pass, but by the time they become of age, that policy is worth, by the time they come of age, 18, something like that, that policy is worth $1,000, $100,000, $200,000. That child can start contributing themselves, and or they can borrow against that policy to start a business, a home, and then pay themselves back. So I just want to say this. Please don't take this that I don't think that racism is an issue. Clearly, as you can see, I'm Black myself. Yes, I've been called the N-word. I've had guys in pickup trucks years ago when I first moved to Georgia, in the area I was living in. I'm walking home, threw some beer cans at me as they were driving by, egging me on and stuff like that. Okay, I'm still here. Even though I did kind of chase the truck down, I'm like thinking to myself, what am I going to do when I catch this truck? And I can't catch the truck, even though I can run a 4.2 in the 40 still to this day. Some of you guys know that. But I understand that there is an issue, but it's an issue on this earth. I don't have the time or the energy to change a person's philosophy on why do you hate a person because of their skin color or what have you. I just don't have the energy for that. I would rather focus on providing for my family. I'd rather focus on building my net worth. I'd rather focus on making sure my children understand the power of the dollar and having the knowledge too, because guess what? They're going to teach their children, and they're going to continue to move up. And that's the generation that's going to, it's going to keep going. And they're going to look back and say, yeah, mom and dad started us. They were talking to us about this. And then that's how you keep it going. You teach your children now, no matter who you are or what your background is, teach your children about basic money. That's what needs to be taught. Economics should be taught from elementary, middle school, high school, even in college. Balancing your bank account. Well, they used to say balance your checkbook, but that's kind of like a thing of the past now. But looking at your statement each month, or putting yourself on a budget where every dollar has a destination. Every dollar you make has a destination, where no dollar is free. Nothing is just sitting there. If you have an entertainment budget, that's your budget. If you have investment budget, that's your budget. Food budget, that's your budget. Gas, utilities, mortgage, rent, emergency fund, that's your budget. And even giving. Can't forget about that. So with all that said, I'd love to hear your perspective, your point of view, your experience. It may be something that I might do a follow-up to this episode. And who knows, I might learn something from what somebody put in the comments. Again, I don't want to discount racism and what has gone on and the stain that it's left in this country. And I just like to say, black, white, whatever your color is, whatever your culture is, if you have a problem with a person because of how they look, you really need to look at yourself in the mirror, because if you categorize a mass because of one or two experiences that you may have had in your life, one or two bad experiences that you may have had in your life, just really look at that, because not everybody is the same. No one is the same. And we have to respect each other for that. The only way to root this out is from each and every one of us accepting people for who they are, and that we all take a look at ourselves internally and say, how can I be a better person? How can you be a better person? And I will leave it at that for now. Again, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate if you would subscribe. I appreciate if you'd like. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next episode.